Space. The final frontier. At least that is how it was perceived in the 1960s, in the height of the space race. The conquest of space was seen as proof of human progress, so the two superpowers battled to outdo one another as a way of showing which one of them represents the truer way. By 1969, this race led man to the moon. Humankind's ability to advance more and more into the depths of its universe fired the imagination of many creative people, who explored the endless possibilities it suggested. In 1964, maverick film director Stanley Kubrick contacted prominent science fiction author Arthur C. Clarke and suggested they create a piece about man's relation to the universe. They decided to simultaneously create both a book and a movie, and develop their ideas collaboratively. It took them years, but in 1968 they were finally able to present the world with 2001: A Space Odyssey. What is it about? Well, in Homer's original Odyssey, the hero is trying to return home. In this new Odyssey, it is the entire human race that is trying to go back home, to discover the origins of its existence. The hero is an astronaut called David Bowman, a name that Kubrick and Clarke conceived around the same time that a certain young mod changed his name to David Bowie, and he goes on a space mission to follow a clue that might teach us where we came from. In Clarke's novel, we get the answer. Humanity was created by an alien race that, millions of years ago, generated intelligence in Earth's apes and started the ball of human evolution rolling. When Bowman reaches his destiny, he finds that the aliens have left a device there that transforms him, and takes him to the next step of evolution. He is reborn as a new star in the heavens, with almost infinite powers. But Kubrick's movie is different. When Bowman reaches his final destination, he enters a world where nothing makes sense and no answers are given to him or us. Kubrick, as always, is mocking the pretensions of the human race, our belief that we can understand and master our universe. This belief stands at the basis of Western philosophy and science, which see humankind's main mission as explaining the universe in rational terms, since this will enable us to devise a happy existence for ourselves. But this belief came increasingly under doubt during the 20th century, and by the late 60s, when Kubrick made his movie, it was already seriously shaken. At the end of our Odyssey, we find that we can't comprehend the laws of our existence. When Bowman is reborn, he becomes a baby star, looking at the world with big, uncomprehending eyes. But if happiness cannot be achieved by full comprehension of the universe, how can it be obtained? Well, there was always another approach, which claimed that we are all already part of one united whole, and our attempt to rationalize our world is actually the thing that separates us from that unity, and prevents happiness. The belief is that instead of trying to stand apart from our universe and explain it, we should open up our spirit and realize that we are part of this universe, a realization that will lead to happiness. In 1960s America, it was the hippies who represented this approach, claiming that the rationalistic approach has led to the creation of a cold and brutal industrial and militarist bureaucratic society that kills the human spirit. The way to liberate the spirit, they claimed, was through the use of hallucinogenic drugs, or acid, as they were commonly termed, which break the grip that those rationalistic structures have on our consciousness, and enable it to groove freely with the universe. Once we are liberated, they further claimed, we realize that we are part of a loving cosmos, at one with the world and with other humans. Their music was known as acid rock, an improvisational style of rock music that contained exotic sounds designed to affect the acid-drenched minds of the listeners. The aim was to break all rational musical formulas, and take the listeners on a trip where they will all be grooving together, engulfed by the same spirit, feeling at one with the universe and with each other. One of the godfathers of this new movement was Dr. Timothy Leary, who actually started out as a rationalistic scientist, but had his life turned around once he tried hallucinogens. He decided to devote his scientific research to exploration of the experience caused by the drugs, termed a psychedelic experience. The alleged truth that was revealed to him in these explorations, as he outlined in his 1964 book The Psychedelic Experience, is that happiness is gained when we liberate ourselves from our ego and learn that we are part of the oneness of all being. But Leary warned that there are also dangers in drug trips, and you must prepare for them beforehand. Unprepared, the tripper might be frightened by the experience, have a bad re-entry into regular consciousness, and cause permanent damage to their mind. But with good preparation and settings, they would come back with an understanding of how their egocentric consciousness is preventing them from achieving happiness, and how they can transcend it. One requirement is that there should always be a guide who will lead you through the dangers and direct you towards your desired goal. Leary writes, "A psychedelic session lasts up to 12 hours and produces moments of intense reactivity. The guide must never be bored, talkative, intellectualizing. He must remain calm during long periods of swirling mindlessness. He is ground control in the airport tower, always there to receive messages and queries from high-flying aircraft, always ready to help navigate their course, to help them reach their destination. The pilot is reassured to know that an expert who has guided thousands of flights is down there, available for help. It goes without saying, then, that the guide should have had considerable experience in psychedelic sessions himself and in guiding others. Routine procedure is to have one trained person participate in the experience and one staff member present in ground control without psychedelic aid. So, a psychedelic session should always involve at least two individuals. One is the pilot, who is flying high on psychedelic drugs and reports on his experiences, and the other is ground control, a sober guide who documents what the pilot is reporting and keeps him from getting lost in his hallucinations. Through this scientific approach, Leary believed, new horizons would be opened before humanity. While NASA was sending people to outer space to find answers about the universe, Leary was sending explorers into the inner space to find the truth about the human spirits. Acid rock was born in late 1965, and within 1 year it already had a strong impact on pop music, youth's true religion in the 60s. The elusive and exotic sound of acid rock was combined with studio effects and condensed into 3-minute pop records, and the songs expressed the psychedelic maxims: turn off your rationalizing mind, lose yourself in the experience, feel yourself at one with the universe, gain a better vision of your existence, and understand that you are part of a loving cosmos. Some of these records had lyrics that described the experience as traveling in outer space, seeing the world from above for what it is and coming back to it with a better knowledge of how to live in it. That was the sound of hippie consciousness taking over youth culture, claiming that through the heightened awareness of psychedelia, it would bring about a better world. But by 1969, it became obvious that psychedelia led nowhere. Not only that, but the damages of massive hallucinogen intake were already apparent, and the dark side of the hippie lifestyle was revealed. It was now time for someone to come and put the final cap on the era, to bring together the space race, psychedelic pop, Space Odyssey and Timothy Leary, and fuse them all to create the ultimate space record and the final verdict on psychedelia. And indeed, there was one record that did just that.
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. Ground control to Major Tom. 7, 6. Commencing countdown, engines on. 3, 2. Check ignition and may God's love be with you.
The opening of the record puts us at the beginning of a space exploration mission. But the term ground control and the rank major do not belong to astronaut lingo, hinting that the record also exists within Timothy Leary's settings, and Major Tom is actually preparing to take an LSD trip, being helped by a guide. He takes his pill and puts his helmet on. The psychedelic experience, at least the way Leary describes it, exists in your head alone, detached from the rest of the world. The music here is in folky acoustic style, but in the background, a psychedelic symphony is already brewing, preparing us for the trip. Finally, the countdown, which can also symbolize the anticipation for the effects of the pill to hit, ends, and we take off.
This is ground control to Major Tom. You've really made the grade, and the papers want to know whose shirts you wear. Now it's time to leave the capsule if you dare.
Bowie takes the opportunity to take a jab at the media's obsession with celebrities, at a time when astronauts were the biggest celebrities, and the media went bananas for the story of the moon landing. Then he turns more serious. It is now time for Major Tom to leave the capsule, to step out of his mind. That's the aim of a psychedelic trip, to take you out of your everyday mind and enable you to see things in a different light.
This is Major Tom to ground control. I'm stepping through the door, and I'm floating in a most peculiar way, and the stars look very different today, for here am I sitting in a tin can.
Stepping out of his mind, Tom finds himself floating. This is the feeling we find in all psychedelic records. The protagonist is passively being carried away by external forces, giving in to them, but still feels like he's in control of his destiny. It is a joyful feeling, and it also makes you feel like you gain a top-down view of our world, being able to see it for what it is. We find the same impressions in Major Tom's report, but the vision he gets of the world doesn't amount to much. All he can tell us is that planet Earth is blue, and that things look different. This is not the illumination we were waiting for. After that, there comes a beautiful psychedelic passage, in which our astronaut loses himself to the joyful experience of swirling mindlessness. But then we come back to the main musical structure, and he continues to report.
100,000 miles, I'm feeling very scared, and I think my spaceship knows which way to go. Tell my wife I love her very much, she knows. Ground control to Major Tom, your circuit's dead, there's something wrong.
Immersed in the experience, Major Tom lets go. It feels so good to be passively carried away that he doesn't want it to end. His spaceship was the thing that took him into this bliss, so he believes it will keep on doing the same if he lets it go where it wants. Ground control is trying to snap him out of it, to stop him from slipping away, but to no avail. When he finally checks again, he realizes that he is stranded in outer space and can't return to Earth. Space Oddity, like the Kubrick film that inspired it, mocks the human pretense to understand and master our universe. Just when the space race reached its peak and Apollo 11 was circling the moon, Bowie releases a record about a space mission that goes astray. And the same goes for the inner space explorations of Timothy Leary, which do not lead to any new answers about our world, but rather destroy our mind to such an extent that we can't even see our world anymore. At first, Major Tom was still looking at Earth, but in the end he finds himself gazing at the barren moon. And it doesn't lead to a better mastery of our life either, but rather to the opposite. At first, when Major Tom relinquishes control and gives himself up to the experience, he is still sitting in his tin can, which can stand for either his spacepod or his mind, and feels he can take back control whenever he wants. But when he finally wants to do so, he finds that by now he is floating out of his pod, unable to do anything, devoid of any control. Levy claimed that a monitored setting would ensure the safety of the drug tripper, but we find that even the presence of ground control does not save him. What about the hippie claim that the drug trip will open us up to the understanding that we are part of a loving cosmos? Here, too, Bowie shows that he does the exact opposite. Major Tom donned his helmet and went on a solitary mission in order to find the essence of love, but ended up lost forever within his helmet, more alienated than before. Even the love he already knows, the love he shares with his wife, is severed, and all he can do is send a sad goodbye to her before losing contact. Planet Earth did not become happier and more loving due to the hippie drug trips. It only became bluer. So we find that both paths, the rationalistic and the spiritualistic, do not lead to the happiness they promised. Space Oddity is the first in a long string of Bowie creations that show the hero starting out in an alienated state, and creating a device that takes him out of it and into a temporary state of happiness, but ends up taking over him and leading him to a state even more alienated than before. How can one maintain this happiness that is found initially, in that moment when you leave your old world? That, I contend, is one of the main questions that drive Bowie's art. This record is the beginning of Bowie's own odyssey, an odyssey that will take him to curiouser and curiouser places, and end up in the formation of a whole new perception of how to achieve happiness.